Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, my Canadian friends, how you guys doing? Well, how's everyone doing? Not just my Canadian friends, but this video is for you guys, especially. Canadians change when they hear the word war. So, they're trying to say you guys go crazy when y'all hear the word war, huh? Now, I want to watch this video and check this video out because a few weeks ago, I did a video where they were talking about the Canadians not meeting up to NATO standards for their investing into their war equipment. So whatever they invested into the war equipment was not enough, says NATO and Trump. So they're trying to throw shade at Canada for that. So let's check this video out, see what they have to say about you guys when you hear the word war. If you're new to the channel, man, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure, listen, one thing I really don't ask for donations or things of that nature. Now, if you want to donate, that's on you. You can, but I don't ask for that. All I ask is for you to watch the video and comment what you think about the video. If you could do that for me, that's A1. I appreciate it greatly. But if you can't, you can. I understand that not everybody wants to comment. Not everybody wants to tell you. I get it, guys. So let's just get into this video and thank you for whatever you decide to do.
Sorry, not sorry. While Canadians are nowadays subject to the stereotype of hockey-loving, maple syrup-chugging, overly polite potheads, their wartime stereotypes in the First and Second World Wars had their enemies trembling in their boots and making a hot mess in their trousers. It's as if, when the Canadians hear the word war, their insatiable desire for maple syrup and Canadian beer turns into an insatiable desire for blood. In saying that, however, they didn't always rush enemy positions with bayonets, meat cleavers, and spiked clubs, but were some of the most well-trained and formidable soldiers on any front in any war. In this video, we're going to explore Canadian wartime reputation, keeping our scope focused on World War II and the heroic feats of individual Canadian soldiers therein.
The front, unknown facts of history. That's France.
To get the puck sliding, let's move our scope quickly to the First World War, in which the Canadians laid the groundwork for their reputation as shock troopers. Mostly, the troops of the Canadian Corps were known for their savage raids on enemy trenches and their unwritten take no prisoner and kill the wounded policies. Locked in a stalemate in opposing trenches, the Canadians devised all manner of strategies and weaponry to flip the chessboard upside down and clean up the enemy pieces. Cutting through barbed wire, they crept upon them in the cover of night with painted faces, launching either savage, unforeshadowed raids or perking up their ears and eavesdropping on enemy plans. In said raids, the Canadians gorged their bayonets with blood and made good use of improvised melee weapons, paying little attention to attempts at surrender and skewering bandaged and unarmed men just the same as men on their feet with rifles. They even concocted an alchemist's shelf of homemade explosives.
Hold on. Man, the people that was injured, they did what? Oh. They didn't take no prisoners for real. Take no prisoners and kill the wounded. They were not playing games. Oh my gosh. Man, listen here. Boy, that's right there, downright out. Disrespectful.
Forged their bayonets with blood and made good use of improvised melee weapons, paying little attention to attempts at surrender and skewering bandaged and unarmed men just the same as men on their feet with rifles. They even concocted an alchemist's shelf of homebrew explosives, like pipe bombs and jam jars loaded with nails and gunpowder. I think it's a safe bet to say that at least one grenade is made with a maple syrup jar. There are also tales of Canadian troops using temporary truces, like on Christmas Day, as a chance to catch their enemy with his stockings on, sending him grenades instead of Christmas ham, and bullets through the brain instead of season's greetings.
What is this history? Somebody please tell me what's going on there. You, listen, that is savagery. Bruh, a truce? Okay, y'all celebrate. You're celebrating Christmas together. You just start shooting and stabbing and blowing up. Oh my God.
Now, it could be argued that Canadians were acting out of vengeance, but couldn't that argument be used to justify most atrocities in most wars? Canadian Lieutenant R.C. Germain's letter home to his parents makes the revenge excuse about as clear as the sap from a freshly tapped maple tree. After losing half of my company there, we rushed them, and they had the nerve to throw up their hands and cry "Camarade." All the camarade they got was a foot of cold steel, while I blew their brains out with my revolver. Despite being a little stab happy with enemy soldiers, Canadian troops were known for being quite, as we contemporary folk have come to expect, polite to civilian populations. Before we have a look at Canadian reputation in World War II and some of its stories, it might pay to know about Canada's involvement in the war. Canada waited until the 10th of September 1939 to declare war in Germany because it didn't want to follow Britain like a Commonwealth sheep. It took Canada until the 11th of June 1940 to declare war on Italy and the 7th of December 1941 to declare it on Japan. Overall, about 10% of Canada's population fought for her and the Allies. This amounted to around 1,100,000 Canadians serving in the Canadian Army, the Royal Canadian Navy, and the Royal Canadian Air Force. Of this 1,100,000, the majority were volunteers. Canadians fought in almost every theatre of World War II, notably in the defence of the United Kingdom, the Battle of Hong Kong, the Dieppe Raid, the invasions of Sicily and Italy, the Normandy landings and the liberation of France, and the liberation of Belgium and the Netherlands. The Canadian Navy escorted Allied ships across the Atlantic and maintained a high presence in the Pacific Ocean, and pilots from the Canadian Air Force flew under the wing of the British Royal Air Force. German submarines sunk Canadian naval and merchant vessels in the water of Canada and Newfoundland and attacked the loading pier at Bell Island. And the Japanese also attacked a lighthouse on Vancouver Island, though little else occurred in Canadian waters or on mainland Canada. Of the military operations in which Canadians were involved, their ferocity and inventiveness stood out in the Battle of Ortona, the Normandy landings, and the liberation of Belgium and the Netherlands. Through the medieval streets of Ortona, Italy, the Canadians and Germans engaged in brutal room-to-room, hand-to-hand fighting, with the Germans eventually having to withdraw. Here, the Canadians coined the tactic mouse holding, which is basically blowing holes in buildings to allow the passage of infantry rather than running into enemy bullets in the open. In the D-Day landings, the Canadians landed on Juno Beach, the second most resisted beachhead besides Omaha. The Canadians penetrated further inland than anyone else, coming up against some of the strongest units in the German military. In Belgium and the Netherlands, the Canadians spent thousands and thousands of Canadian lives to drive the Germans back and get food to the starving civilian populations. They even shared rations with civilians and gave them blankets. Some of the most intense combat here was in the Battle of Scheldt, where the Allies fought through flooded terrain against stiff German defences for about a month. This battle alone cost the Canadians more than 6,000 casualties. This latter triumph, particularly the part about getting food to the starving civilians, is certainly keeping with Canadian tendencies in the First World War, though the following atrocity paints a bit of a different picture. Canadian Lieutenant Colonel Frederick E. Wiggle was shot dead on approach to the town of Friseute, Germany, and a rumor spread that it was a civilian sniper from that town who shot him. Back on that revenge train, the Canadians burnt down the entire town, apparently moving its citizens onward before setting their homes on fire. It was discovered later that Wiggle was shot by German soldiers. Now, the intent of emphasizing Canadian brutality in World War I and mentioning the Friseute incident is not to take away from Canadian bravery in either world conflict. Like I said before, Canadians were some of the most well-trained and formidable soldiers on any front in any war. And I think the best way to communicate that is to share some stories regarding some of the most heroic Canadian soldiers in World War II.
Let us know.
On the 14th of December 1943, Canadian Captain Paul Triquet and his company, supported by an armoured squadron, tried to cross the gully and take the Casa Berardi, a hamlet on the Orto Orsona lateral, Italy. Under heavy machine gun and mortar fire, Triquet ran around organising and inspiring what remained of his men, saying, "There are enemy in front of us, behind us and on our flanks. There is only one safe place. That is on the objective," before charging forward and breaking through the enemy line. Triquet's company and the supporting tank squadron pushed right up to the edge of Casa Berardi, where he set up defenses and fought off a tank-supported German counterattack with whatever weapons he could find. He held the defensive parameter against superior numbers until the rest of the battalion came in and...
I have never seen a gun where you load the clip backwards like that. What type of gun is that? That's crazy. I've never seen something like that.
Triquet's utter disregard of danger, his cheerfulness and tireless devotion inspired his men, and his tactical skill and leadership facilitated the capture at a vital point on the Ortona Orsona lateral. On the 18th of August 1944, Canadian Major David Vivian Currie was in command of a force of tanks, self-propelled anti-tank guns and infantry. His task was to block an escape route from the Falaise pocket in the village of Solember-sur-Divers, Normandy. Currie went in alone to scout German defences and to free the crew of 2 Allied tanks which were previously disabled. Under heavy mortar fire, he succeeded. The Germans then kept throwing counterattacks at Currie and his men until, on the 20th, one final German counterattack was thwarted by Currie, costing the Germans some 2,900 casualties. Throughout these 3 days of intense combat, Currie displayed gallant conduct and a contempt of danger and collected and inspired his men. One of his officers said, "We knew at one stage that it was going to be a fight to the finish, but he was so cool about it, it was impossible for us to get excited." Over the 3 days, Currie barely got an hour's sleep, and when it was over, he fell asleep standing and then crashed to the ground. Currie's courage and devotion to duty had a far-reaching effect on the successful outcome of the battle.
That's crazy. 3 days and thousands of deaths within 3 days. Man, dude, that is traumatic, bro. I couldn't even imagine. Like, your friend is here, or you're here one day, the next day, or the next second, you got thousands of deaths like that. People dropping like flies. Man.
French-Canadian Corporal Leo Major was also in Normandy, where he captured a German armoured vehicle which held secret codes and lost an eye to a phosphorus grenade. He stayed in service, saying that he looked like a pirate. However, it wasn't in Normandy where Leo earned his first Distinguished Conduct Medal, but in the Netherlands in 1945. Actually, before we go there, Leo single-handedly captured 93 Germans in the Battle of Scheldt.
With one eye?
On a solo reconnaissance mission in 1944. He escorted all 93 of them back to his camp, where he would not accept a DCM because he considered the person awarding it to him to be incompetent. Back to 1945 and the real DCM.
With one eye.
After breaking his back, ribs, and both ankles when the car he was in was hit by a landmine, Leo went on a recon mission with a friend in the city of Zwolle. His friend was killed, so Major continued alone, capturing a German soldier, making the soldier take him to his officer, who was in a bar, and then telling that German officer that the Canadian artillery was going to shell and kill them all. Leo then ran through the city, firing his gun and lobbing grenades, fooling the Germans into thinking the Canadian army was invading. All through the night, Major brought captured German troops back to his camp, resting in civilian houses whenever he needed to catch his breath. He then set a Gestapo HQ on fire and assaulted a Nazi SS HQ before meeting with members of the Dutch resistance and informing them that he had liberated the entire city by himself. I've got to say, that last one is pure insanity. What an absolute machine. Overall, based on the available evidence at least, I think Canadians in World War II abandoned their unofficial take no prisoner and kill the wounded policies of World War I. Obviously, this is a generalization, and the Vliesuyte incident certainly demonstrates that they were at least capable of unjust violence, though there is no comparing the deeds of the Canadians to, say, the Germans, the Japanese, and the Soviets. As evinced by the stories of Paul Triqueur, David Curry, and Leo Major, Canadian courage and formidability was in no short supply, and I believe modern-day Canadians should be proud of how the Canadian military cleaned up their act after World War I and made such a brave and significant contribution to an Allied victory in the Second World War. Anyways guys, make sure you let me know your thoughts on Canada and some of the super soldiers we mentioned in the last bit of this video in the comments section below. And just before you go guys, make sure you check out some of the links in the description below, where we can direct you to a place with more history buffs like yourself on our Discord, and to our Patreon page if you want to support the channel more than you already are by watching this video. Also, if you're into cool history merch, then make sure you check out that link as well, where we have a whole ton of history merch that I'm sure a lot of you guys will get a kick out of, so check that out as well. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something new.
I for sure learned something new. I learned that Leo Major, that boy's a real savage boy. He came with one eye and he did all this, captured these, and went through the whole city by himself capturing it. Man. My question is, how did he keep these German prisoners if he's alone? But yeah, that's a good video, man. Listen, we gotta check out more because I did not know this about the Canadian. I swear, every day I'm doing a Canadian video, I'm learning something new. I swear, and I just love it. Like brain food, man. Learning something new is brain food, and I love how it makes me feel. I just love everything about it. So shout out to you guys, because when y'all hear that word WAR, y'all already turn into savage mode. So I ain't gonna say the word because I don't want y'all coming at me in the comments like, yeah, I heard it. What that? I'm not trying to get your juices flowing. I'm just trying to, appreciate you guys. But yeah, that's the video. Let me know what you thought about it. And man, I swear that last one, well, he's a true hero. By himself with one eye. Wow. Man. Hope you guys love the video, and I'll see you in the next one.